So let's watch this. Let's watch good rant. Flagrant gets confronted about Trump. All the brocasts that got gaslit by Trump acting like he was just a normal human being, guys. Not going to do any of this crazy shit people say.
The podcast guys were basically taken for a ride. Like, they're looking at it as, look, Trump knew that he wasn't going to get asked anything that he might get on NBC News or anywhere else. He basically wanted to use the audience to convince them that he was a normal dude and get them to vote for him.
Trump
100%.
and those people used the podcast sphere to manipulate their way into the White House by like assuming this like, oh, I'm just your friend. It's me, bro. Trump, your buddy.
Recently, Schulz and the Giggly Squad had Saga from Breaking Point
Oh yeah, here we go.
The full Epstein conspiracy, and
What's up,
then
Pitchforks?
Saga swapped seats with Schulz, which made Akash upset because now Schulz is out of arm's length and can't do this.
What in the
All
fuck?
this. Anyways, the reason for this is so Saga, who's a political journalist / presenter, can ask the gang about how they feel post-election with Trump's new track record, and also how they feel about the way they interviewed him last year. Schulz has gotten a lot of flack lately, mainly from people who are angry with Trump for a good reason, especially when it comes to this Epstein cover-up, because they had him on the podcast, and so some feel they bear some responsibility, however small, for what's happening. Fast forward, Schulz recently had some criticism for Trump.
Like, there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this.
Yeah.
No, you voted for all of this. This is fucking insane. It's just like the Epstein file shit, dude. It doesn't matter how many people get shown over and over again that this is what that dude said he was going to do. Later, Manny. Enjoy, my friend. This is what Trump told you he was going to do. And you all said, all Trump supporters kept saying, no, he's just joking. They're just jokes. He's just joking. Now, all those same Trump supporters are saying, this is what we voted for. Because you know why? Because they gaslit people. Because they knew that what he was saying, he meant what he was saying, and he was going to do what he was saying. And they wanted it. They just didn't want to say it out in front of everybody because they didn't have the protections of having Donald Trump as the president of the United States. Now they do. Now they're mask off. Now they're like, fuck the Constitution. Now they're like, fuck your free speech. Now they're like, yeah, people should be abducted off of the streets and given no due process because they don't give two shits about anything being actually thrown back in their face right now because Donald Trump is their Lord and Savior and their protector. Andrew Schulz, whether he recognized it or not, voted for this. It's exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do. You can call Donald Trump a liar, and I will believe you. You can say that Donald Trump doesn't speak honestly about a fuck ton of things, and I will agree with you. But if you are going to sit here right now and say that the things that Donald Trump was saying before the election were any different than what he is doing right now, I'm going to call you a liar.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do.
So Saga's questioning.
He never said he was going to shrink spending. Donald Trump didn't run on that. Elon Musk, as his mouthpiece, talked about doing that. Donald Trump talked about cutting the government. Donald Trump talked about fighting the deep state. Donald Trump talked about deporting human beings. Donald Trump he never was for actually reducing the deficit. Donald Trump has added, up to this point, between his two terms, potentially $13 trillion to the government debt. Donald Trump never wanted to reduce the debt. But Elon Musk, as his mouthpiece, because these dipshits are too dumb to separate the two, was out there saying, we're going to cut the deficit, we're going to use Doge, we're going to do all these things. It was never Donald Trump's plan to do these things. And if you look back at his first fucking term, you would know that that's not. He added $8 trillion to the debt in his first term. The only thing he accomplished in his first fucking term was to give wealthy people tax cuts. That's the only thing that Donald Trump wants.
Is related to this. And he's definitely a friend of Schulz. He's been on the pod a few times over the years, but Saga is also a journalist, so he has to ask certain questions. And even though this is a friendly interview, the line of...
Yeah, and by the way, Saga he's a softball interview guy for these guys. He agrees with the majority of the things that these guys say. He's a soft Trump supporter.
Questioning kind of makes Schulz look like an idiot.
So like the left independent media that I have been able to interact with, they have a theory that the podcast guys were basically taken for a ride. Like they're looking at it as, look, Trump knew that he wasn't going to get asked anything that he might get on NBC News or anywhere else. He basically wanted to use the audience to convince them that he was a normal dude and get them to vote for him. And speaking generally, like to the Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan and Nelk Boys and all of the podcast, the Bussin', podcast, and all Bussin' with the Boys and all of that. Like he obviously used that to some political advantage, and now many of those people are upset. And they're not necessarily as willing as you to kind of speak out against that.
And that's why he went on podcasts, on BroCasts. He didn't go on news media outlets where they were going to confront him about the things that he believes. He didn't debate any of those Republican candidates during the primary. The right likes to point out constantly, Kamala Harris was shoved down our throats, the non-democratic process. Donald Trump never participated in that primary. He never debated any of those people. He was never on stage with them. He never went against the other Republicans. He just sat on the sidelines and gave town hall interviews with like fucking Sean Hannity. That's what he did. And these guys are fucking dumb for falling for it.
Or to invite the other side.
Who is upset?
Well, I'm saying so. Some of the people who privately have had on these people may be upset at the thing.
Another podcaster might be upset with Trump, but
but they're not as willing now, to be able to say it, or they have to couch their criticisms, maybe less so than you have. So, like, how do you look at it, like, generally?
For me personally, I'm curious. I've heard so much things about Trump from the media. Oh, he's this, he's that. But seeing him in person in long form, he has less of an opportunity to bullshit us.
What did I say earlier? These dipshits determine who they want to be the president of the United States by watching 30-second TikToks, watching clips on X, watching, owning. He was owning people. Like, that's what these fucking morons think should be the president of the United States. This is why you shouldn't be taking your political advice from people like Andrew Schulz and his fucking friends. Because they don't know fucking dick about what it takes to run a country. Every one of these people sitting there with Andrew Schulz is somebody that you shouldn't fucking listen to when it comes to determining who you should vote for. They watch 30-second clips and they're like, dude's dope, let's vote for him. This motherfucker's like, we saw him in long form. We saw him in long form for 4 fucking years, dog. Fuck you talking about? We saw 4 years of this shit already. What do you mean? Now that he's in, long form content, it's like kind of like, oh shit, we might have made a mistake. It's almost like there's a full 4 fucking years you could have went back and looked at if you weren't a fucking moron.
Like, once you're talking for a good amount of time, you can start to gauge. And I wanted to really know
Jesus.
who he was. And I got a sense he was much sharper than I thought he was. Yeah. Like, he's
incredibly sharp.
He's aware of everything going on.
Creature.
Yeah, so it's like that.
It's actually amazing to watch.
To me, anybody who wouldn't want to speak to somebody who's...
Dude. He's so aware of everything, guys. He's so aware of everything.
Former president and potentially...
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, we're not talking about... this isn't a platforming argument.
No, but they're saying that they might have used us.
This is about being...
They might have used you. Well, we talked to these other guys, and you know what? It seems like they're pretty smart.
To the extent of to convince voters and to use people, because look, I'm telling you guys, this did happen. Like, I had multiple Trump interview requests in, and they were basically like, no, and I heard it off the record. It's like, bro, you're gonna ask him 2 hard questions. Like, this, it was quite literally told to me, right?
Damn, to their faces, and they're just like, yeah, he's literally saying, I was too smart to talk to Donald Trump, so he chose to come to your podcast because he's like, these guys are idiots. They won't ask me hard questions. And they're like, yeah, that's what happened. We're a bunch of fucking morons, and he knew that shit. Jesus Christ.
I love the poorly educated.
This was like remember this interview?
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black.
That's what happens when Donald Trump gets asked hard questions. You remember this shit?
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
That's what Donald Trump says when he's put in a position where he has to interact with people that still have half their fucking brain left. That's what Donald Trump says when he's on a broadcast with fucking Andrew Schulz and these dipshits. It's like he can fucking say whatever dumb shit he wants, and they laugh because they're enamored by his power, his authority. They don't understand, and this is that Joe Rogan bullshit. We were just having a conversation. We were just hanging out with the boys. My dudes, we were just, what was I supposed to do? Push back? Jesus Christ.
Now, I mean, there's a reason he's going on Theo Von and all, and other places because they didn't think that was going to happen.
So let's break that down. First of all, Saga cleverly poses the question from the standpoint of, this is what leftist independent media thinks. So the question comes across as less confrontational, but it forces them to answer a tough question. Schulz should actually take note if he's going to keep cosplaying as a political journalist. So let's call it what it is, which is an accusation that Trump's campaign used a bunch of podcast shows for promotion to young voters, and they knew they wouldn't get any tough questions. Even with Alex's pushback, Saga actually reinforces the question with the fact that Breaking Point's, Saga's channel, were denied access because they would have asked too many hard questions. Now, Schulz doesn't address that because what can he say? It's the truth. So Alex steps in with the same defensive argument that Schulz has actually been saying for a while now, which is, well, who wouldn't want to talk to the former president? Which is a much better answer than admitting that your platform was used for promotion. These guys get a bump in revenue and get to brag about having the president on, but they feel zero responsibility about asking tough questions. They're just too busy slapping each other's knees and bragging about how important they are.
Maybe we are as powerful as they think we are. We changed politics, dude. You know what's so crazy? What? This group influenced the presidential election of 2024.
Yo, listen.
Ain't that fucking crazy?
Don't even say
I love the poorly educated.
Influence. We decided.
We were the turning point.
Just know, and we'll be left out of everything, and that's fine. We don't give a fuck about the credit. We know what we do.
I don't need this credit.
It's fine. We'll be left out of everything. It's totally fine. It doesn't matter. That is the nature of things that we started.
Look at these dipshits. They're like, we helped him win. They were so proud. They were so proud. When I say that these people are aggressively gullible, I want you guys to watch this shit right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They are so proud that they got the wool pulled over their eyes. They are aggressively gullible human beings that are struggling to find some form of relevancy. And if it comes at the cost of selling the fucking country down the river because, they got to be relevant for 5 fucking minutes, that's what they're going to do. They don't give a shit about me. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your friends or your family. All they give a shit is about self-importance and getting to sit next to Donald Trump's little tiny orange mushroom was the most relevant these dumb fucks will ever be in their entire fucking lives. Congrats, dog.
Everybody else does it but he was not up
when do we get JD?
Until this pod.
Soon, I'm sure.
After the pod,
6 months.
He surges, 3 or 4%?
It was always easy to see that certain podcasts were used for promotion in this election, but that's pretty much how podcasts work. Different comedians go on each other's shows, and usually they're on there because they're promoting their special or their tour dates. So I get the argument that, hey, this is how they conduct all their interviews. But when it comes to politics, the stakes are much, much different. Some comedians have had some pushback for the whole politics-comedy relationship. Dan Soder, for instance, recently spoke about this with journalist Andrew Callahan about comics being used. And
Dan
Andrew
Soder.
Santino has talked about his concern of the fact that comedians are suddenly able to have a lot of sway when it comes to elections.
They use the news machine as their like propaganda apparatus. They just pump money into it and hypnotize the public. But what's worse now is they're figuring out how to do it with independent media and podcasting.
Sure.
And you're seeing a lot of these podcasters, I'm sure you've seen this, leaning into the mainstream media. And I knew that was suspicious when I saw it.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
You know, because I was like, wait a second. If you're saying, like, I don't want to shit on any podcasters.
Sure.
But it's like,
I'm fine with it if you want to, though.
You're saying,
I'll fucking
fuck Fox News, yet you give Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and Jake Paul a front row at the fucking inauguration.
Yeah.
And the Nelk Boys, I think, were there too, but they got snubbed. But the point is, I'm saying, it's like, they used, Trump and those people used the podcast sphere to manipulate their way into the White House by, like, assuming this, like, oh, I'm just your friend. It's me, bro. Trump, your buddy. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
and what's funny is people get, like, so mad. I don't like any politicians.
Me either.
I've never liked anybody. There's no point of them being a public servant.
Mm-hmm.
They're all there for themselves. And it's crazy because, like, you'll say that. You'll be like, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of feel weird with Elon being an unelected, foreigner fucking with our shit. And they'll be like, you, what the fuck? And Biden, you go, fuck Biden too.
Yeah. And the craziest thing about all of that is, as I've said before, politicians are the American citizens' employees. They're not your bosses. They're not your managers. You voted for them. They're supposed to make things better for you, not for themselves. So this idea of, like, you're going to vote in the guy that entertains you the most, the guy you like the most, pretty much says that you don't care about having more money in your pocket. You don't care about having health care. You don't care about being treated equally or not discriminated against. What you really care about is being entertained. That's what you did. You hired the entertaining employee, and then when they were absolute dog shit at their job, you're like, I don't know how we fucked this up. As a person who has hired countless fucking people in my life, I hire, at times, people that I generally don't really get along with, but seem like that they would be very good at the job. And when I say don't get along with, I don't mean that we fight. I mean, personally, they're not people that I would hang out with. They're not people that I would, go have a drink with, or, we probably don't have much to talk about. Because when I'm hiring people, I want to hire the person that is best for the job. I don't give a fuck if me and that person are going to become best friends after I hire them. I want them to do the job well. The American people need to recognize that when they hire politicians, because that's what you're doing, is you are electing them with your vote, they are your employee, that they need to do the shit that you want them to do. And if they're out there acting like a goddamn fucking jester, then they're probably not doing their fucking job. Stop hiring people that are entertaining for you.
I don't think we want politicians on the show.
No.
I think that's a strange world.
Pete Buttigieg I'd have.
He's gay?
Yeah.
No, thanks. Ban it. No.
It's getting a little muddled, right?
Thanks.
No.
I think that's a strange...
Fuck Biden too.
Yeah. I just don't think we want politicians on the show.
No.
I think that's a strange world.
Pete Buttigieg I'd have.
He's gay?
Yeah.
No, thanks. Ban it. No.
It's getting a little muddled, right? It's getting a little... What's going on?
I just think podcasting, comedy podcasting is entering this world of, like, news or something.
Yeah. Yep.
And people are taking it serious. And it's not.
Well, there was an article after the election about how legacy media doesn't have the, power it once had, and that podcasting is now, replacing some of that,
That's not good.
Yeah.
We shouldn't replace it. This should be its own thing.
I think
I fucking 1000% agree.
Both made great points. Santino has the self-awareness to understand that he's out of his depth when it comes to politics. So lending your platform in a presidential race seems like a bad idea. Most comics would arrive at that conclusion. They typically, I think they're supposed to be critics of those in power, not try to make them more relatable to their fans.
Yeah. Comedy mocks politics. Comedy mocks people in power. It's not supposed to be a platform to interview people. In fact, Redonk called me out. During the fucking the election, he said Joe Rogan won the election for Donald Trump. And I said, no, that's stupid. Why did I say that was stupid? Because I don't think that people should look towards like comedic broadcasts for their political information. If Donald Trump sits down in front of you as a comedian and says, you know, the GDP over the last quarter actually raised 3%. You know what a comedian's going to say? Wow, that's really good. Fuck, that's amazing. You know why? Because they don't understand statistics. They don't have the research to back up any type of pushback. If Donald Trump tells you, you know, what we're doing in Gaza is good, actually, you know, we're going to put a resort over there, they laugh because to them, that sounds funny. They don't push back by saying, hey, aren't there real human beings over there? What's going to happen to those people? What are logistically, what are you going to deport all that? Where are they going to go? What countries are they going to live in? Are you creating more people that now are going to want to rise into extremist groups because you took the life of their mother, their father, their uncle, their sister? Are you making matters worse or better? Because that's not what they do. And then they'll literally come out and say, well, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to push back. I'm just having a conversation. And the problem with that is that it really, the onus is on the person, on the voter, to be smarter than that. But it's unfortunate that people right now cannot discern because either they are lazy and politically illiterate or because they're fucking stupid, that when a person like Trump goes on a comedian's podcast, that comedian does not possess the information that is necessary to hold an interview with a politician and hold them accountable for their bullshit. And that doesn't matter whether they're on the left or the right. Just politicians in general. Politicians in general are going to lie. I've said this for fucking ever. Think about this. If you ever sat down in a job interview and you were guaranteed to get that job interview, but you had to say certain things to get the job, and that job was going to pay you a fantastic salary, going to give health benefits to your children, going to pay for your children's college, and set you and your family up for life, and they were to ask you something, and you were like, you know what, actually, I don't really agree with that, but if I say that, I won't get this job, you would fucking lie to that person. You know, like if saying Israel was bad, but you didn't agree with that, and you were in an interview and getting the job meant saying Israel is bad, get you the job, you're like, fucking Israel is fucking terrible. But if you had a person that has the research and the information where they can push back on that, they can say, well, hold on a second. It seems like here's some quotes from you where you said no, that you support this stuff. Why? How do you make that right? Because the person interviewing you at that time needs to be capable of interviewing you and determining whether or not you are actually good enough for that job. This is what's fucking missing. We have lost purpose in our lives, and we have changed our lives from being, let's all do the best that we can for those that are close to us in our community. And instead now, we're like, but I don't get to laugh. I'm not entertained. Because entertainment is what people care about now. They don't care, and they'll literally cut their fucking own nose off to just fucking be able to laugh. It's crazy.
The Nelk Boys just did this with Bibi Netanyahu, who's accused of war crimes by the International Criminal Court. I mean, we've all seen what's happening out there. And after receiving pushback from their fans, they admitted that they didn't do any preparation for their interview. In fact, the Israeli government gave them the questions to ask, handing over their platform to be useful idiots. But they did it for views. Flagrant aren't as bad, but it's a similar tale. Trump knew these interviews would be an easy ride.
And people were like, this guy's a monster, he's not a human being. Then we humanize him. That's what he keeps saying.
Let's game theory this, Akash.
Yeah.
Redonk asks, if JD becomes president by Trump getting impeached, can he run 2 more times after that? Yes, he can. Yes, in fact, he can.
Okay, we are so powerful and influential by simply sitting down with him.
Yeah.
Right? We made him president.
Yeah.
So one would think that if we are disillusioned by some of the things that he is doing as president, and we're upset that that same influence might be able to make someone else president. So shouldn't you be...
Oh, fuck. Just stop, dog. I don't think he's figuring out the fucking moral to this story. No, my dude. Just get the fuck out. Just get out of politics. This is not your lane. Just exit stage left. Holy shit.
Embracing this massive influence?
Yeah, come to our side. Claim we have, yeah. When Schulz ponders that, hey, if we have this much influence, shouldn't you be nicer to us and embrace us on the left? This seems hyperbolic, but honestly, the way Schulz's ego has grown, it's getting harder to tell when he's being serious. Instead of looking back and admitting that maybe their approach was flawed, maybe they should have had more important questions about things that would affect the lives of their millions of viewers, or just pass on the interview because it might just look like an endorsement. But I guess that's in the past. God forbid you call them out on it.
I know this is crazy, but did you know that politicians lie?
Oh, wow.
That's something I just found out.
Wow.
Someone was like,
oh my God. The shit's insufferable.
And Trump's a fucking liar. You didn't know he was a fucking liar? And I was like, oh, I thought they were all liars. I didn't realize that there were people that tell you the truth in politics.
So I guess Schulz has come to the conclusion that they invited a politician to lie to not only them, but all of their fans. And oopsie, now that guy's president. But let's brag about how he helped make that happen. But now some of their fans are saying, hey, didn't you know that Trump likes to lie? Their response is basically, duh guys, didn't you know that politicians lie? This is why Saga's question to them is so important, because it's the first time someone has suggested to their face that they were used. But now in this discussion, he also addressed the accusation of being a grifter, but the argument he used had me raise my eyebrows. He claims he had inside knowledge that his special would be up for an Emmy, but there's no way he could win because he had Trump on.
And in the entertainment industry, the industry that we exist in, you're putting yourself in harm's way.
Dude, of course.
So I don't even, like, for example, like, just, I mean, I had flat out the Netflix people say, and who fucking knows, but like, you know, I'm up for consideration or whatever for an Emmy for life. And I just had people tell me straight up, they're like, listen, dude, like, yeah, Trump on the pod, like, there's no way that they're going to give you an Emmy. And it is the best hour comedy that was put out. It should win. It just is.
Oh, so brave. So brave. Andrew Schulz is so brave, guys.
You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to anybody's there, but it's not as good.
Yeah.
Right? And it's, but and if you want to judge it by any metric, you want to judge it by views, it has more views. If you want to judge it by, like, impact, you want to judge it by, in my personal opinion, obviously. But, like, that.
Dog, you're a little biased.
It's the cost of it.
You guys see, he had nothing to gain and everything to lose with having Trump on. The poor guy is going to lose out on an Emmy because the Life special is clearly the best comedy special of the year. Personally, I think he's grasping for straws here. His special had good reviews. It's a decent 71% audience score, but I would say calling it the best of the year is subjective. But now to act as though he had nothing to gain, as if his public profile wasn't raised, it did great numbers for his pod. He had a recent New York Times article and podcast where he's labeled America's foremost political journalist. So it sure seems like this interview benefited both parties. Schulz couldn't stop bragging about it after it happened.
He was not up until this pod.
It's true.
After the pod, he surges, what, 3 or 4%?
Yeah, it was a wrap, dude.
Never went back down after that.
He wants to brag that the candidate that came on his pod and a few others ended up winning, and the candidate that chose not to do that ended up losing, and so he seems to be basking in taking some responsibility for Trump's success. If everything was going well in this administration, you better believe that Schulz and the Gigglies would be joking about how they helped make this happen, but now would rather distance themselves and say, hey, at least we're holding him accountable now. Schulz and the Flagrant team have been on the defensive and grappling with the problems that come from the fact that they're comedians doing political commentary and high-profile interviews, but you can't take them too seriously and expect them to ask tough questions because they're comedians. Maybe this is a sign that they should just take a break from politics, since they are a comedy podcast. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I said in the first place, right? Was that, like, I think there's just something to what's going on nowadays where we're now here's this channel. If you guys, that's a very good video. I like the video. Go check it out. It's called Flagrant Gets Confronted About Trump. The Good Rant is the channel. Go subscribe. He's only got 19.6k subscribers, so channels like this should get 100,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers. That was a very well done video. If we're being honest, I don't belong in this lane. Andrew Schulz doesn't belong in this lane. And when we talk about legacy media, and we all understand that the shit that they're putting out is terrible as well. There's this vacuum that needs to be filled by people that are not legacy media, that can speak about politics in a way that means something to blue-collar people, to upper middle class, impoverished people, but doesn't fucking try to put this like entertainment spin on it. And I know a lot of people will say, well, hold on. Well, that means like then a bunch of people aren't going to vote then. That's okay. Because one of the biggest issues with Donald Trump becoming a politician and entering the fray was that he did motivate a bunch of people that would have never voted in their lives, would have just sat back on their couch drinking fucking Bud Light, saying to themselves, oh man, like fucking, my vote doesn't matter, all this shit is fucking terrible, blah, 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 He motivated them to get off their couch and vote. And that's actually a bad thing. Because there is a percentage of our society that, when given the chance, will 100% not only vote against their own interests, but yours as well. We should have political talk in news media and politicians in our government that either get people to vote for them or get people to vote for the politician by talking about their policies, talking about the good things that they can do, talking about the bad things that they have done. Because when you want to make a decision, as important as who should be running the country in America, in the United States of America, you shouldn't be asking yourself who's the most entertaining. You shouldn't be asking yourself who's the most fun. Who's the best looking? Who gives the coolest, funniest speech? You should be asking yourself who's going to get the job done for me and you and make life better for Americans. That is what you should be voting on. So to be honest with you, I would 100% turn my channel into a fucking music reaction channel if it meant fucking getting out of politics so that way people with better educated, more well-researched points of view had a space so that way American people would stop voting idiots into the government. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and check out that video on the screen now.